All right, you don't have an intro, so let's see if I can come up with an intro.
Say something about us being in the pokey.
The what?
The pokey? You know, like that's what they called the prison in the olden times. And it also sounds kind of sexual. This can just be our intro if you want to.
I mean, if you got something, go with it, I guess.
I don't know if that's a real thing or not, but you know, like, have you ever heard of it?
So you want me to call it that, but you're not sure if that's actually what it's called,
No,
or if it's a thing.
That's what the pokey is. The pokey's like an old time prison thing from Western movies. Yeah. Pokey prison. I looked it up. A correctional institute used to detain persons who are in lawful custody of the government. Pokey.
Man, with all this, with all of that and all the weird sex stuff we're going to talk about, we should rate this episode E for educational and erotic.
That's probably the best thing to do. They'll never figure it out until they listen to the first couple minutes. All right, do you just want to go in now? I think we did the thing.
I've been wanting to go in. I'm just letting you spin your wheels.
All right,
Okay.
let's do it.
Fine. Welcome back, everybody, to Comrades, Cocktails, and Comics. It's a show where I, Snoop Lynch, and my co-host, Higgins Stern.
Hey, that's me.
You know it is. Well, together, the two of us, we read together, we drink together, and we're friends. Is that?
Yeah, we nailed it.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
First one of the new year. It's a little rough, yeah. Hopefully be back on a more regular schedule this year. Last year was a little crazy, but I don't have to tell you that, do I, Higgins?
Haha, no you don't. Everybody else is in the same boat.
It's so awful.
We both kind of got sick, but
Oh, I did get really sick, yeah.
that's why we're late this time.
Yeah, we gave each other COVID, so we should be good to go now.
Yeah, I think so.
That's still relevant to talk about, I think. So yeah, we're gonna do all three of those things. What do you want to talk about? Yeah. What three of those things do you want to talk about first, though?
Man, honestly, we normally dive right into the book, but this drink is so gosh darn good that I'm just gonna tell you about it right now, if you're okay with it.
Yeah, you don't have to slap the table, though.
But I was so excited about it.
Higgins picks up in the mic real loud.
Oh,
Think about
okay.
the listeners with sensitive ears. God. All right, well, tell me about this drink that you're excited about.
Okay, so in true our podcast form, I picked this drink the day that we recorded, and I was like, hopefully we have everything.
So true podcast form is just we did everything like to the wire last second.
Hey, I read the book like a month ago, but we got a little derailed, so
I was watching you read it just a second ago.
yeah, this is a reread
Oh,
because
okay.
I read it so early that I forgot what I read.
Makes sense.
But this book is very sexy and about criminals.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I'm going to search for that on Google and then put cocktail behind it. And you know what I found out? It was hard to find something, so I typed in handcuffs and then typed in cocktail. And then I found this one called Tie Me to a Bedpost. And I was like, man, that's kind of kinky.
Run me through your process of going from sex criminals on Google to handcuffs on Google. Is that you just did it take a few moments or a few different keywords, or was that the first one you went with?
No, I was immediate. Once I didn't find one for sex criminals cocktail, because that just came up with a bunch of posts about people doing bad things to people.
Yeah, same thing. I experienced something similar. Yeah.
And so I typed in handcuffs and cocktail because, you know, criminals, they get put in handcuffs.
Mm-hmm.
And people that enjoy doing sexy stuff get put in handcuffs. So
Yeah.
I figured that was pretty good.
And you saw the handcuffs on across the room,
Yeah.
your room specifically.
So yeah. And man, if it's not one of the best ones we've made so far,
Then you can tie them to a bedpost.
tie me to a bedpost if I'm lying. But it's got a shot of vodka, a shot of whiskey of your choosing. We did two kinds, an Irish and a rye.
Yeah, we did. Let's see, we did Jameson. Yeah, we did Jameson, which that was the first one I had, and then we did a little bit of Bullet Rye. Whatever we had in the pantry, it's a lot.
Yeah.
We don't have a problem. They're pretty much exactly the same. Like,
Yeah, I haven't noticed any difference.
You said that because you did the rye first, and then you went over to the Jameson. You said
Yeah.
that one kicks more.
The Jameson kicked a little more,
Yeah.
honestly.
See, and I
The
feel
flavor.
the opposite.
Oh, okay.
Like it's the same feeling. It's just I feel like the rye has more of a punch than the Jameson, but
I
you know,
gotcha.
more or less pretty similar. And it's super sweet.
Yeah, it's super sweet. It's got those two things. It's got a shot of amaretto, which is pretty sweet, and then it's got a little bit of OJ and some grenadine.
Mhm.
So you get the cherries and the orange juice. to mix into those other ones.
Good
and it tastes-
combination.
yeah, it's pretty good. It's probably one of the stronger ones we've done, and it's probably one of the tastier ones we've done in a long time.
So we should drink a lot of it.
So
just
you're
to
in
make
for
sure.
a treat, folks.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
You think people want to hear us drink on the podcast? I mostly take it out
It's
later
probably
on.
it's probably good. Probably good sounds. Probably
Yeah.
terrible sounds actually. But
Well, I mean, given the content, I
yeah,
feel like it
that's
fits.
what they're here for.
Let us know.
But now we can talk about the book. I guess it's pretty good.
You've kind of lost some of your
I lost my steam.
steam, yeah. That's fine. I've got some steam I can share with you about this book if you want.
Yeah.
Okay, so Sex Criminals, specifically we're talking about volume 1, which is called One Weird Trick.
Yeah, I'm glad you knew that because I did not.
I know things. Written by Matt Fraction, art by Chip Zdarsky,
Yeah,
and colors by Becca Kinsey.
man, her name isn't even in the little picture of the book, so that was some research right there. I do
know-
like the colors a lot.
I know how to Wikipedia.
It's very pretty.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about that once we kind of get more into the story and everything. But yeah, just a little bit of backstory on it and a synopsis for people who haven't quite caught on to what you mentioned earlier. It was published by Image back in 2013. It's been ongoing until I think recently last year it finally ended with like 30 episodes or not 30 issues. And
It was it was close to something like that. I know they were like, man, we didn't have enough, so we need to do our fun book called the 69th issue, even though
Yeah.
we haven't made it that far.
nice.
Yeah, nice.
And yeah, like kind of how it came to be was Image had announced at I think Emerald Comic-Con I read back in 2013 that
Yeah.
they were working on a sex comedy book that was led by Fraction and Zdarsky, and the idea came from those two. Apparently they knew of each other and they started to kind of talk to each other but just online. I'm guessing they kind of like, word got around about the other cuz they did a lot of Marvel stuff. I was looking at it and Matt Fraction's done like
Fraction's that big Hawkeye guy, right?
yeah, he did a Hawkeye run, Iron Man, Iron Fist, Uncanny X-Men, and then Chip Zdarsky has done some work on Howard the Duck. More recently, I think he wrote this one. It's called Spider-Man Life Story, which is basically each issue is a decade of Spider-Man's history, but in real time. So like the first issue is set in the 60s where he fights like the Green Goblin or whatever. And then I think in the 90s, he fights Venom, but he's aged in that time. So just kind of
So
stuff
he's
like that.
Like a 50-year-old Spider-Man.
Something like that, yeah.
That's some wild sounding stuff.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good. We may cover it one day, or we may not. Who knows? But yeah,
We got a lot of time.
we do. We've got more time than we know what to do with. But yeah, I think they kind of knew about each other through that, so they started talking, and then Zdarsky was actually the one who suggested that they work on something together, and they just shot back random ideas back and forth. And Matt Fraction, off the top of his head, apparently went, "What if we make a book where after people have sex, time stops and they do crimes?"
And you're like, man, that is a great idea that no one's definitely never done before.
Turns out it wasn't,
Yeah.
and they did it.
Yeah, they did it.
Yeah.
And it's great. It'll probably make a great HBO TV show eventually.
Well, I think it's funny you mentioned that.
Is that a thing?
No,
Okay, damn.
but it may be one day.
Damn it.
I looked into that too because you're right. I think this lends itself really well to TV, like a limited series kind of thing. The only thing I could really find is that apparently Universal had something in the works or was talking to Matt Fraction and Zdarsky back in like 2015.
The only problem is it's just too sexy for anything besides HBO. It's entirely too sexy for anything but HBO.
You don't think Amazon can do it? They could be pretty sexy.
I haven't looked at I guess The Boys has really pushed the limit on
That's what I'm saying.
what kind of things they can do.
And
so
that
maybe
man, and that man has all the money in the world, so he can kind of just do whatever he
yeah,
wants
he's
to do.
not he's not losing anything if he
No,
does something like this.
exactly. He's an awful person apparently, but he doesn't. Who cares? He doesn't. Got money.
Yeah, he's just like Luthor, right? He's bald and he has money.
Yeah, not as much money though. Wife got that in the divorce.
Yeah.
Good on her. Is this what we're talking? What are we? Okay, the book. So yeah, synopsis. Basically what I just said, but on the back of the book that I've got here, it's a graphic novel, and they put graphic novel in quotes
Yeah.
because graphic.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, just the graphic part.
Yeah.
It's graphic.
Very. About a couple who stops time when they orgasm and they rob banks. Now, I have a question for you that hopefully you can answer for me and the rest of the listeners.
Yeah.
Why they be robbing those banks?
Man, okay, so girl is very, very, very interested in libraries because as a kid, she found out she has these crazy like sex time stopping powers
I've seen Matilda.
and was like, I'm gonna do this project to see. And went to a library and she was like, hey, librarian, I need to figure out how to put my thoughts into a thing. And she was like, oh, that's the Dewey Decimal System or taxonomy or something like that. And she was like, okay, I love libraries now. Jump 20 years in the future or 15 to 20 years in the future. And she's like, I got to save these books. And
Because I love libraries.
And the bank's stealing our money or going to foreclose on us unless we have this money.
Because they don't love libraries?
People don't love libraries. They say they're a waste of money. I love a library because God, I love a free thing.
Yeah, but when's the last time you went to a library?
Man, it's been a while now, but I do have a library card. And within the past 2 to 3 years, I have checked a book out of the library.
Okay, I'm gonna need some photo evidence of that, maybe in the promo for the episode.
I actually, my bookmark is a library like checkout receipt, so I do have actual proof that I've been to a library in the recent past.
You know what else it's proof of?
What?
That you're a big dumb nerd.
I'm a big dumb
Got him.
nerd. I read real books.
No pictures.
No pictures.
No thank you for me. So yeah, the girl, specifically the character of Susie, right? Suzanne? Suze. That's what her friends call her.
Man.
She wants to save a library, but bank's taking the money. So who's gonna help her out?
Her boy. Shoot. Man, Jonathan.
You know it.
John.
Yeah.
I don't know what his last name is, but he works for a bank that he hates.
Not just a bank, the bank.
Apparently the bank.
Yeah.
In the town.
Mm-hmm. The big one.
The big bank that her dad got killed at. That part hasn't really came up.
Oh yeah. He got thrown out of the building or by a random person that just kind of attacked them all.
Yeah, that part hasn't really came up yet.
Yeah. I'm sure it'll get there.
Yeah, there's 30 issues.
More crimes to be done. More sex to be done.
More sex to be done.
But right now they just care about saving right now they care about saving the small library from the big bank.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is a wild thing because she's never used her powers for anything other than like getting away from like her life, basically.
Yeah. It sets up the characters, specifically her, because she's pretty much the main character for most of the first issue until the character of John kind of gets introduced. And so you see a lot of her history, specifically kind of the aftermath of her dad being killed and how that kind of left her alone. You know, her mom was still around, but she kind of went into her own state of depression and never really came out of it, it seems.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, she didn't really have anybody to talk to. And
except this one really super sexual middle schooler that like told her so many things.
Because she figures out pretty early on, you know, whenever she orgasms, time stops. And not knowing anything about sex, she just assumes everybody can do that. So she goes and talks to the school slut, I think is what she calls her.
Yeah.
And just kind of rambles on about like, why is this happening? And everyone,
you guys have the time stoppy. You guys have the time stoppy thing where you like when you do the thing, and they all look at her like, what? And then she talks to another person, and they're like, she talks to like an
gynecologist.
Yeah, gynecologist, and he's like, she's like, what happens when that happens? And he's like, well, normally you just fall asleep with your husband.
Yeah.
And she's like, dang it.
Yeah.
And then her mom's like, great, I'm raising a whore.
Yeah. So just
she's like, I guess I don't get any help.
Yeah.
It's all up to me.
Like, it's a very comedic book. Mostly, like, the tone of it is interesting because it's 80% just kind of like fun romp. And then every now and again, you kind of get these peaks at like a darker, you know, story of these characters. Because John's not exactly like, he doesn't come from a great past either, but she's the one who, she has a lot going on. And so, yeah, this ability she has just kind of provides her with this sanctuary. She calls it the quiet. The quiet, yeah.
Which, like, that's her side of the story, and we'll talk about his later. But,
yeah. Well, what I like about it is they call it different things, and you can tell kind of what it means to them and how seriously they kind of take it based on the names they give it. And when they named it as well, I'm sure factors into it. Because when he figured it out, he was just a young teenage boy, so he named it something that a young teenage boy would name it.
Well, and it was the name of the store.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Uh,
Cum World, guys. It's real graceful. That was the name of like the porn shop that he was in the town of.
yeah. I was gonna ask though, just your opinion. I like both characters a lot, but how do you feel? I was reading some stuff, just kind of like other impressions that other people had. And one thing I did read that seems kind of fair to say is it's not necessarily the best writing for a female character being written by a man. I don't think it's bad or necessarily cliche, but I can see that there's elements that maybe a woman would have done something a little different.
I mean, they do make her slightly more graceful about the thing, but at the end of the day, she's still making like pretty raunchy sex jokes about everything
Hmm.
and that sort of stuff. Yeah, they might have made her like probably raunchier than a woman would have made her, but they also made the guy like a good step above
Yeah.
raunchy what she would have done. So they probably did the best they could do with their own viewpoints as best as they could. Because
Yeah.
I mean, like at the end of the day, a guy writing a girl is going to be a tough subject. There's a whole subreddit about it. Everybody does terrible with it.
We'll link it in the description below.
Men writing women.
No, I think that's I think that's pretty fair to say that. And who knows, this is just the first volume that we've read.
It's only 5 issues, folks.
Yeah,
We
it's
haven't
one
had a
shorter than we normally do. But as it goes, maybe there's even more kind of development with that. And we both recently found out that Matt Fraction is married to Kelly Sue DeConnick, who we've done an episode on one of her books before. It's a Bitch Planet, right?
Yeah, Bitch Planet. Sorry, Matt Fraction, but your wife made it on the podcast first. I guess
Hey.
you have to step your game up.
So yeah, I'd be interested to see maybe later down the road, or maybe from the beginning, how much kind of was she involved with this? I imagine like they talk about it as as they're writing different projects, and so maybe she had some ideas that they work in later or what. I don't know. I think that'd be kind of fun to look into and
I have
find
to
out.
imagine it probably helps to have like that backboard, especially since like they've been together since he's written it.
Yeah.
And with having a wife that does comics, it probably helps to bounce that sort of stuff off of him. But she also writes Bitch Planet, so like
Mm.
she has a more like out there style of how a woman should be anyways, compared to like what people think women should be written as anyways.
Yeah, it is kind of the concept of that story.
Yeah.
And I think being that premise, it just opens you up so much more to kind of play with that idea.
The other side of things is people say that women shouldn't be super sexual and stuff like that, and they are writing her as super sexual, and at least as far as I can tell, most people nowadays think like, yeah, women should be able to say whatever the heck they want about that stuff, and I kind of agree.
Well, yeah, like anyone can enjoy sex or not enjoy sex, and anyone can talk about sex. Yeah, I think that's kind of what this book does do well for both characters. Is Susie's past, we see she doesn't know anything about sex because no one's talking about it, and she's just trying to find, why isn't anyone talking about this so I can learn more. And
That was one of my favorite jokes. She's like doing research like by the tree with like the small amount of books she can find about it.
yeah,
And she's like, this is why all these people get pregnant when they're young, because they don't know what the freak they're doing.
yeah, exactly. So I think that's obviously intentional to kind of bring that up. And then you, of course, have probably the funniest joke in this whole book is where she goes to that same slutty character,
Oh, yeah.
Rachel.
Rachel, yeah, which ends up being a roommate.
Yeah, they end up becoming friends and living together. But she just brings her in the bathroom stall and just has this full like 2-page go round of all the different weird sex positions that
God,
she knows.
It's like 4 pages. There's so many stuff.
What was your favorite position?
God,
What are you
hold
doing
up,
on a
hold up,
Saturday
hold up,
night?
Hold up. The E.T. the sex move's pretty good. And then I really like the user agreement, which is just the girl sitting on a chair, like with a laptop on the guy's back while she's giving him a foot job.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that one. Yeah, that's pretty good. One thing I read, apparently people who are really big fans of this story refer to themselves as brimpers.
That's the one with the hair?
Yeah, or he's sticking his dick through her hair. So that's fun.
And then the chocolate McKitten,
Yeah.
where they just stick their butts together and poop at the same time.
Yeah, it's just a really, it's just a good gag.
Yeah, they literally just were like, how crazy can we make these things?
Yeah, and it sets that character up kind of, because she is a slut in in the context of this story. Like, even as it goes further on and they live together, the main character constantly mentions how, like, she slept with basically everybody that they've met.
Yeah, she's like, she has been with everybody except basically John.
Yeah, and she wants to get with John, but then he and Susie hit it off instead, because he knows Lolita.
He knows Lolita, which is, I haven't read it. I've been meaning to read it.
Yeah.
Because it's a classic.
Yeah, you want to bust it out at a party.
But I don't know what it's about. All I know is that this old dude has sex with like a 14-year-old girl, and it's supposed to be like very brilliantly written, but also tell you that like what this guy's doing is horrifically wrong.
He doesn't have to tell me that. I already knew.
Yeah, well, apparently it's beautifully written.
It's tasteful is what you're saying.
No, apparently it's just, beautiful.
Oh.
Beautiful. And Lolita's a heck of a name.
Yeah.
Man, find Lolita when she's like, I don't know, a good 30. Man, 25 to 30.
You want to broaden the age range so you have more of a chance. I get it. But yeah, coming back around to all that, I do think that these characters are really enjoyable to read, and they do have, like, Charlie, if you want to be on the podcast, just say so.
I think Steve's here. We'll give it a break for a sec.
Yeah, I hear him. He's singing. Here he comes. Charlie doesn't care about your bone.
Charlie, come on. You can't have that bone right now.
She can have the bone.
No, she'll make a lot of noise.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's true.
Charlie, come here.
It's just out of your reach.
Not right now. You can have it right after we're done.
Man, you really boned her.
I know.
Yeah.
Man,
what were we talking about?
That's a good question.
We were talking about
Lolita. She met when they met each other.
Yeah.
She's at her party for the book Saving the Library.
Yeah, it's just like a little fundraiser, dumb party thing.
And she was like, I don't even like drinking. I don't even like partying, but
I love libraries.
Oh God, she's a sneaky.
Dog got the bone back.
Yeah, take that out with you.
Thanks,
Steve.
Take the bone. No, he's gonna chew on it. Yeah, that's fine though. He's in the other room. Yeah. So, fuck, I forgot what we're talking about.
Them meeting each other. I think
that's what I was gonna say. I like these characters together. I think the chemistry's pretty much instant, and I can feel that when reading it. So,
and they 100% tell us that because they spend the first. I think the exact number was 55 hours together. They spend basically a whole weekend together.
Yeah.
After that party.
Yeah, and it's pretty early days where we're at, but you can tell it was like this instant attraction because they like similar things. Obviously, he knew Lolita. She probably met her too. But then there's the big reveal that, oh, you stop time when you orgasm as well. So that that alone just pretty much locks it in. But as the story is going and as kind of the stakes get a little higher, you see one character is willing to go to kind of more drastic measures than the other, and maybe that character is starting to have doubts, even just a little bit. So yeah. I think that's kind of going to continue as this goes, and I would like to see how that plays out.
That goes with their characters. Like, the same thing with the names even. Like, she's got hers as a quiet, and he's got his as Come World.
Mm-hmm.
And so he talks about, like, when he first discovered it, that he just goes around, he, like, figured out, and the main part for him was being able to do whatever he wants when he's in the freeze. And she's like, I use it as an escape, basically, after she figured it out. And, like, it goes with the situation they're in, and it makes sense for both of them. She needed a place to escape because she just had all these horrible things happen to her. And he's just this 13 to 15-year-old kid that figured out he freezes times when he has an orgasm. So
yeah, and his dick glows while he's in there.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that, like the ET thing from earlier.
Yeah.
Like, the tip of his penis glows after he has sex. And the other thing, like their whole thing, the thing that didn't make sense to me is like
Their whole what thing?
Their whole like freezing time when they have
Oh.
an orgasm.
What
Like
if one orgasms first and the other one doesn't? Do they get stuck? Is that what you're gonna say?
I wasn't thinking about that, but I feel like they'd be able to push past that. But
Go on.
uh, when they're in the freeze, the thing that stops it, besides just time, like slowly like stopping it, is the fact that they get horny again.
Yeah, it's they call it the refractionary
The
period?
the refractory period.
Yeah.
I thought that was a wild like way to like think about it. He figured it out. He figured that part out
Yeah, we didn't know that until he mentioned it
because she just thought
kind
it.
of
She just thought it was like, oh, it just ended
stops.
eventually.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, it happens when you're like good to go again.
Yeah. And that makes sense that the guy probably figured
Yeah.
that out first cuz
Guys are pretty much ready to go anyway.
and then we want to sleep, but then we'll be ready to go again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just inevitable.
No, yeah, I liked kind of exploring that because I honestly didn't even think about that until he mentioned it because I just like heard her assume like, oh, it just it's got like a set time limit or something.
I will say that was one of the coolest parts of this book. With it being such a like new and like different idea,
Hmm.
everything they do with it is completely up to them. And so I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, there's no tropes for this, so
Every
it
new
can go kind of any way they want it.
Yeah, every new thing is a different thing, and it's always a surprise to the reader.
Yeah, a sexual surprise for the
A
reader.
sexual surprise for the reader.
Yeah. Coming back to my point though, and I'm not the only one who had this thought because before I even read this book, I told some of our friends that we were, doing this topic,
Yeah.
and the first thing that our friend Andy said to us, or first thing Andy said to me, was again,
Shouts
what if
out
one of
Andy.
them shouts out? He listens sometimes, but will he make it this far? That's
Yeah,
the
he
question.
always falls asleep.
Yeah. I'm glad we could soothe him to sleep though.
Yeah.
Sure, he's probably passed out by now.
I don't think my voices sound that great, but my dulcet tones.
It's that low baritone you bring that really just does it for him. But yeah, like he thought, and then I'm also thinking because I know that they can come out of this zone in different times because that's how we find out about that refractory period is she turns him on again and then he freezes.
Oh, yeah,
And
that's
then-
what I forgot. Because she
yeah.
was like, oh, no, I've ruined it.
And then that's when we found out about that. But so how does it work the other, getting into there? It's like, do they have to orgasm at the same time? Obviously, they can't fake an orgasm.
I
'cause-
imagine that's how it works. And you're like, man, good on them for doing it at the same time that one time.
Yeah, I don't feel like that's a sustainable process, though.
I don't know. When they have that kind of chemistry, though.
I know, but Higgins, you're tired. It's been a long day at work, and you just want, to go to sleep. You got to please your lady.
Well, there's like.
Just kidding. It's usually probably the other way around.
Man, I'm always trying to go to sleep. But what's it? I'm sure it just like comes down to chemistry. And if not, they know what they need to do to get to the freeze time place.
Yeah. I really like the freeze time place. Like, just visually, I think it's great.
Oh, now we're getting to the colors, aren't we?
Yeah, well, you gotta. I mean, I shouted her out earlier. Becca, this is a new colorist for me. Usually, it's like the same three people, but now we've got Becca Kinsey in here doing some good work.
It's very good. Very good colors.
They should put that on the back of the book.
It's very good colors. I very much know when they're in the freeze time place because there's all that like pastel, like neon, like circles and bubbles. It looks like you're looking at these people through a bubble.
Yeah, it looks like it when you see it, it kind of to me gives off like the sense of euphoria.
Yeah.
Like, and you just kind of get lost in it all.
I like that show with Zendaya.
Exactly.
It's basically exactly what it looks like when she gets high on that show.
Yeah. New special out. Did you see it?
I watched the first one, yeah.
Yeah, but now there's a new one. You
Is
can
there a
watch.
second one?
It just came out.
God, I need to watch that. I love that show so much.
Like this book though too, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're talking
Sorry,
about.
guys, we're not talking about that right now.
We're really off track, but first episode of the year, we've got to ease into it. I think I only have one more thing to talk about, but if you've got a thing, hit me with it.
I'll let you go first. I have one more thing, just like
No, you can ladies first.
all right. So like I read this one a second time, and like a lot of the time you miss like this stuff, but they have so many things where they're just like, oh, there's a sign on the wall or something like that, and you're like, oh, I wouldn't catch it normally on like a first time read because you're like, I'm just trying to get the story. The Come World's like
It's like a erotic video
Yeah,
store.
erotic video store and like your Starship from Atlanta if you're from Atlanta.
Hell yeah.
Shouts out Starship. That's our sponsor for this
Oh,
week.
we buy all our sex toys there, don't we?
Yeah,
No.
all 0 of
Just
them.
kidding. I'm doing Amazon. 2-day free shipping.
I know. Sometimes 1.
If you need it real fast.
But I was just looking at like this one man, what's it called?
Picture?
Frame?
Panel?
A panel. Just one panel out of like a whole page.
Mm-hmm.
And it's showing like him looking at Cum World for the first time as a kid.
Yeah.
And it's like where coming meets affordability. And like right next door there's a store and it says Miss Chalkbluster, non-erotic videos and more. And I was like, man, they just put a non-erotic video store next to it. Just a regular ass video store next to it, and it had to like specifically say like this one doesn't have any of the goods.
Trying to attract a different crowd, yeah.
But there's so much of that. Just in the panel below it, there's like butt plugs gone bad, and it's like a butt plug with like fake poo like hanging off the end of it and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, I imagine they both kind of have their input on it, but I think that's where you get to see Chip Zdarsky probably really shine as far as, kind of
just adding
his
extra
comedy
stuff. Yeah,
just kind of help building this world that they've set up and showing how ridiculous it is. Because that's the thing is like, it's what I'll go into, I guess. Overall, this book is just a really fun time, and then you have these other elements kind of like these weird, even weirder than what we've been talking about, elements kind of coming in. Specifically, the antagonist of this first volume is just a group of people who can do it too, but they've decided to be weird sex police for some reason.
we didn't even talk about the sex police even a little bit.
Yeah, I know.
Is that what your part is?
That's what. Yeah.
Okay.
Things you don't listen to me. I just said I was bringing it up.
Sorry, I was looking at this one poster in the Cum World, and it was like a photo. It was a poster for this other video, and it says "Gay men having sex with lesbians. Everyone's having a horrible time," and that got me pretty good.
That is pretty good. I like that. Yeah.
All right, you go now with your sex
yeah.
police thing.
Yeah, they're having a horrible time too because they're not having what the main characters are doing.
I have
not at all.
No idea what their deal is.
So
It's like, why are they so uptight
they're
about
very
people
uptight.
doing? The only slight glimpse you see into why they're doing what they're doing,
What they're doing, yeah.
what they're doing is that, like, she says at one point that you guys are going to ruin it for all of us.
Yeah.
And the only problem I have with that is that our boy John has been caught at least 1 or 2 times doing this like freeze time thing,
Yeah.
and it hasn't really affected anything.
So there's 3 sex police as of right now, and they just had the same ability, but they also, it's just kind of random people. Like the main woman who's kind of like the biggest bitch.
Is a cop.
She's not a cop. Like she's
she's a cop. She's at least
no, she works at the bank.
no, because remember her roommate calls up to the police officer.
Yeah, but she's not actually a cop. So
she's at least a.
let me set the scene for you. She works at the bank as like a teller or something, and she gets a call from Susie's.
Is that it?
Yes, so she gets a call from Susie's roommate because she's suspecting that her and this new guy John are gonna rob the bank, and so she calls and kind of warns them, and so she gives her actual like home number, so it just goes to her.
Yeah.
But she's pretending to be a cop basically.
Okay.
Because they want to rob the big bank, as we mentioned. Big banks are bad. And
Big banks are bad.
before they
Screw big banks. I watched The Big Short.
That's a very controversial opinion, but you just say whatever you want, I guess.
Hey man, Joe Biden's our president now, so I can say screw big banks.
Nice. Really just taking full advantage of that, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where was I going with this? Basically, these people aren't real sex police. They're just a group of weirdos who made weird neon tight suits and just go around policing people who also have this ability. But it seems that it has to be a big enough crime because, like you mentioned, John had screwed up a couple times back in his past and nothing ever happened. But I don't think that they would really care that much about like, oh, you stole some porn from a video store or whatever.
Yeah. I think it has to be something that raises attention, basically.
Yeah.
To the fact that
People
people
can
are
do this.
freezing time while they have an orgasm.
Yeah, because I mean, you think about it, like, I'm sure they're not the only people who have thought of or tried this or whatever, if there are other people in this universe with this power. And so if enough people did that, other people would start asking questions. And I guess that they're trying to keep that from happening, but the thing about it is, it's like I said, it's not like it doesn't seem to be like an actual regulated organization. It just seems to be a small group of people who've kind of done this themselves. And I think maybe they're doing it like they don't want them to get caught and have this be exposed because they're planning something way worse.
That makes some sense. I don't know what they could possibly be planning, and we see like a headquarters, but I think that's all in Suze's head. I don't know if specifically that they actually have a headquarters or if they just like she just calls her buds up and say, "Hey, jerk off real quick so we can like stop some sex crimes."
It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
We're gonna have fun.
We're gonna have a lot of fun.
Yeah, do
like
it.
you guys are gonna have fun, and we're gonna have fun, and then we're gonna stop some sex crimes with
Yeah.
our dildo tasers.
Yeah, and then they reply with the eggplant emoji.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe some waters after that.
Yeah, really add something to it.
Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, I just but what I like about it is it's still not trying to completely break away from the tone, like it's a sex comedy, as you know, like Image said they were making. These guys are kind of dangerous to them right now, but they are also really stupid because Susie and John get the better of them at the end of this. This is kind of how it all ends is
that's that refractory period that
they
we were
use it
talking
against them to freeze everybody and get away. Yeah. And what I like is they put them in handcuffs, but she knows how to get out of handcuffs.
Those specific handcuffs.
Yeah. Because
double jointed thumbs and stuff like that.
And John used them on her in like a flashback, I guess just in case they got caught. Because she can do it. Yeah, like I don't really know kind of where this will go. I don't know how.
I literally could not know how this story like it evolves from what it is.
I mean, you could if you read more.
Yeah, but I didn't.
Oh,
because I'm a man of means, and those means are doing exactly what I need to get where I am right now.
The bare minimum.
Yeah,
I support you fully. So yeah, I don't know kind of where it could go. I don't expect it to really turn dark or anything. I think that there's some stuff, you know, kind of sad stuff that they'll get more into.
Stuff
I don't
between them and stuff with her dad.
Yeah,
because I feel like her dad has to be a part of something involved with what she's a part of.
Yeah, maybe it was kind of framed as a random accident.
Geniality, jeans, and stuff like that.
Yeah, he wears good jeans, and then he gave them to her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get you. Probably Levi, you think?
At least Old Navy.
Oh, spare no expense. So yeah, I'm excited to later on get more into this one.
I'll actually read some of this, guys.
I've already got the next volume because I bought this big supersized edition, which is...
I won't even lie to you this time. I'll actually read some of this. But last thing, best thing, they do a really funny thing where she like does a rendition of Fat Bottom Girls where like they break the fourth wall and like put their own words in front of like the lyrics of Fat Bottom Girls where they tell about how they were trying to get the rights to Fat Bottom Girls.
Yeah.
And that's probably the best part of the book.
It is because it's the entire song, and then it just has like post-it notes over it explaining
why they can't have the words of this song.
And I don't know if that was I don't know if it was going to be this from the very beginning, because it seems weird that you would, even if you could get the rights, it just seems weird that you would put the entire song in a comic. So it makes me think that
she's got the yellow leather jacket, the things you can literally see like people dancing with white
oh yeah, it was a solid outfit change,
white wife beaters and stuff like that. They're doing it up hard.
No, it's really fun, and it's kind of out of place, but I really like it.
It's super great.
It's the only time something like that ever happens in this book. Like, there's a lot of like fourth wall breaking, but it's mostly just done through the eyes of the main characters.
And this was actually them.
Yeah, so it's just a really weird moment that maybe was intentional. Maybe that's actually what happened. I don't know.
But I like it.
So yeah, that is pretty funny.
That's the last thing, though, guys. We're going to give you our rating. I think Snoop said he's going to go first.
I didn't say that.
Man,
I mean, I will.
I had to throw you under the bus because I'm still thinking about it.
Joke's on you. I already had a rating before we started recording.
Ah, dang it.
Higgins, I had a real fun time with this. I think the two main characters are really enjoyable, and I want to get to know them more intimately, specifically. And for that reason, I'm giving this book 69 Candles in the Wind, and I'd read it again.
Man, shouts out to
That sex position, Candles in the Wind.
Princess Diana.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Because that's what she said about the Candles in the Wind sex thing that Rachel told her about, where the guy gets his penis in a window.
Oh, yeah, that is. Yeah, that's why I picked that one.
Yeah.
I just really enjoyed the drawings.
I'm going to give you one full Esteban song.
I don't think I could take that.
And that's the best rating you could get because it's the best thing.
I gave 69 Candles in the Wind.
Basically,
you give one Esteban song and all of a sudden that's the best rating?
Basically, I'm telling you I really like this book, guys. It's one of the best ones we've read so far. It may not be everybody's deal because like some people might not like this sort of thing, but it is a really good book.
Yeah, I don't know, comedy's different for everybody,
Man,
obviously.
some people are prudes, Snoop.
They are, but I feel like anyone, like even if you're just open to the premise of this book, like just that simple premise, if that gets you interested enough to read it, I'd think that you pretty much be on board the whole time.
Yeah, if you're in the door in the first place, you're gonna like it.
Yeah.
If you know that it's about an orgasm that stops time to do crimes, then you're gonna enjoy what you're reading. If that doesn't get you in the door, then you're not gonna enjoy what you're reading.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed what I read. 10 out of 10.
Wow. 2 ratings in one episode.
Yeah, 10 out of 10. That's the first probably one of the first number ratings I've gave.
It's definitely not.
I don't know. Man, I don't remember any of the things we've recorded before now.
Nope. Sometimes I forget to put it up online.
I am 2 of our drinks in.
So yeah, I think we're done. But we're not done.
Yeah, I don't have you said you had a book, right? That we were gonna do?
I do have a book that I actually so I had a different thing.
Yeah.
But I think we're gonna save that for a later date.
That's fine.
Because we're gonna have a guest on that one, so I want to make sure he's available.
All right.
But I heard about another book recently.
Are you talking about the second part of Umbrella Academy with Josh, our boy?
So
he has to do that at some point.
He does have to do that, but we're gonna do a different thing with him.
Okay.
Yeah, that he suggested.
Okay.
Yeah. But before we do that, I heard about a different book on a podcast, and I was like, oh, that sounds really interesting, even though I don't know anything about that kind of stuff. So, Higgins, I know you like a D&D podcast. You're all about it.
Oh yeah, I do like a D&D podcast.
Yeah.
It's called The Adventure Zone. They don't need the hype.
They don't need a promo from us.
They don't need a hype at all, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, so and I don't know anything about D&D, but it's one of those things I'm like, this could be interesting depending on what people do with it. So I heard about a book called Die, which is basically about a group of people who got trapped in a D&D game, and then
Jumanji style,
and then they came out of the D&D game, and then cut years later, they've got so many mental problems. I think they said one character's missing an arm, and one character actually never came back from the world. And
so very much Jumanji Final Destination mixed together.
Yeah, part 6, you know it.
All right.
But basically, they come together years later for reasons I don't remember, and they get sucked back into the game. So that's the idea. I can tell you who wrote it.
That's a very
if I look it up.
Cool sounding
premise, idea, book, story called Die. Not to be confused with Die, Die, Die or Die Hard.
Die comic written by Kieran Gillen.
Gillen, yeah.
Oh, we read something by Kieran Gillen, right?
Maybe.
That name sounds super familiar.
Are you thinking of Karen Gillan, who's in Jumanji, the new Jumanji?
Oh, no, I read a book by Kieran Gillen called The Wicked and the Vine, and that's super cool too.
Okay.
That's what it is, though. I've read something by them.
That's good. But
that wasn't for the podcast. Can you believe that?
I don't like it, but I believe it. But we're going to talk about the book I said, though, right?
Yeah, Die.
Yeah, I figured this is...
That sounds pretty neat, honestly.
Yeah, it does. I don't know how many issues it is or how long it goes, but we'll cover at least a few of those when we come back next time.
Nice.
I think we're ready to close up the shop. You can tell them things, and then I can go leave.
All right. So I'm sweeping the thing up, and you guys can talk to us on so many things. You can talk to me on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Mike J. Higgins 93. That's where you can Twitter me. You can talk to me on Instagram. That's jsturm93. You can talk to Snoop. None of those places, but you can talk to both of us at the Gmail, where he'll mainly look at it.
I look at it sometimes.
yourcomrades@gmail.com.
Yeah. You were looking at me like, is that it? And it is it.
That is it.
Yeah.
And that's it. We would appreciate the heck out of it if you talk to us on any of those things. Because honestly, guys, you've really been slacking. We haven't got much of anything. Maybe 2 emails.
I thought you were going to say, honestly, guys, we're really lonely. Because that's how I feel.
We're super lonely.
That too. If you don't have time to talk to us, though, and you've got a little bit of time, you can maybe leave us a review on your local podcast app. I know iTunes is a pretty good one. We got a few stars on there every now and again. It's good.
iTunes, Spotify. Those are only 2 places. If you're somewhere else, get off of them. Jump on those. Tell them what you think.
You're very bossy this episode. I don't know if I like it.
It's the extra drink.
Really pushes you over the edge. That's fine. So yeah, like Higgins said, all those things. We will be back. I'm not gonna say when, because usually when I do that, it's not when we come back. So I'll just say that we'll be back,
and we'll try to make it regular.
Yeah,
we'll try.
We'll try.
We love you guys.
Is that your sign off?
No.
Good, because that's a little too much. I mean, what if this is the first time someone's listened to this? That's going in pretty hard. And we did just talk about sex for like an hour.
Yeah.
So maybe try something a little less
better.
abrasive. Yeah. Well,
All
while
right.
you think of that, I'm gonna say my usual sign off, which is cheers, guys. I think I'll just pad for time until Higgins finds something to say. I've got a little bit of my drink left.
All right. We love you guys.
Coward.